Hi, host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People, and purveyor of the wisdom of the ages. About what, Eric? Well, ADHD. Yes, that's right, ADHD. As a victim of ADHD, a carrier of ADHD, and somebody who undergoes treatment for ADHD, I can tell you that I've concluded it's completely bullshit. Why have I concluded this? Well, I looked at this video and I went into this unusually. Usually I go into these things from a attacking standpoint. Like I'm looking for what's wrong with it and to attack it. In this instance, I actually was not. And the reason is because Enid Patterson's explosively controversial private message to me was so effectively written that I was like, oh shit. I think I have been thinking wrong about this. Because I always sort of assumed it was bullshit, right? It didn't sound like something that was real to me. And it didn't matter. It's like, I'm going to be me regardless, so who cares if that me has this label or not? It doesn't really matter. But when she talked about it and in the message and talked specifically about differences in brain architecture and stuff, I found it convincing enough to pursue further research into it, thinking this is anticipating that I was going to have a wow, that totally explains it moment like I did with cognitive functions. But I was disappointed as I got further and further into the video. At first I was like, no. And it took me, I don't know, I watched like 45 minutes of it or something. I watched a lot of it. And the reason it's like that is they aren't talking about a real specific thing. They're saying this is a disorder, and they're pointing as their strongest evidence to a difference in the brain architecture of people. Namely, that there are these 5 regions that are typically less developed, and there are these other regions, about 5 as well, that are typically advanced. Well, to me, that doesn't sound like a disorder exactly, because there's not a concrete problem when you apply it to a standard. Like, for example, as I said in a previous video, I had a guinea pig that was born deformed, and there was something wrong with that guinea pig. According to the standard. Now, if we chose to have a relational understanding of that guinea pig, we might choose to say, for the purposes of this guinea pig's identity, there's nothing wrong with you, guinea pig. Just because you're a little different is fine. Except there was plenty wrong with this guinea pig. It was retarded and deformed, and it died within a couple of days. So we could say those words all we want, but there was definitely something wrong with the guinea pig. And it was something specific. It wasn't something that was a matter of degree. It was a binary thing. Now, it doesn't mean that sometimes matters of degrees don't comprise disorders. They do, typically behavioral disorders. And now we're segueing into the topic of what exactly ADHD is. It's referred to in this video by this doctor who's like the leading expert on it or whatever, Dr. Russell Blakely. And he's an ENTJ. And he, according to Enid, so he says that it's a developmental delay or a developmental disorder, and that we know it's a developmental delay because we can see brain imaging that these 5 regions are usually 2 to 3 years behind in their development from other individual people. Now, the exact metric they use to convert size difference to year difference, I'm not sure about. And after informing us about this is his core piece of actual physical evidence that there's a disorder or something specific, a binary triggered thing here rather than just a spectrum thing, then as a consequence, after he sets that up as the axiom upon which he builds the core biological point, he proceeds to acknowledge a couple of things that caused me to do a little research. and realize they aren't just little details he happens to acknowledge. They destroy his entire thesis. So his thesis is that it's regional, but in fact, all contemporary neuroscience says we were wrong about that. It's not regional. It is made up of neural networks that are interacting with each other, and it is the nature of those node interactions that comprises the real mechanisms of cognition, and that these nodes function according to a small world systems economy, which means that they get most of everything they need within their own little system and have very few long-range connections. So that's why we have this weird network of nodes like cell phone towers in our brain. But there's also in our brain the trash truck. The trash truck is here. It's getting the trash. There. Oh yeah. Hi. Thank you. Yeah, so on a side note, I came up with this ingenious system. I got those guys to come around with a truck to take my trash away, like twice a week. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, ADHD. So okay, the small world systems thing. However, although the nodes are primarily small world systems, each of the nodes has a quality known as long-range connectivity, which connotes its capacity to interact with nodes that are in distant regions. And of course, as one would expect, while the density of some of the nodes, the local nodes, is lower in some regions for people with ADHD, the density of the high long-range ones is higher. So this does not sound to me like a disorder. It sounds to me like a configuration. That human brains are configured in multiple ways. And my brain is configured in such a way that it prioritizes long-range connections between disparate regions of the brain and basically says, I'm going to meta up over your small world systems limitations and your basic node network systems here. Instead of going through the network of nodes, I'm going to go straight across there. That's way I get to be able to do things that other people may not be able to do, while at the same time I won't be able to do things that some other people can do. Now the question is, which skill do you value more, or which quality do you value more? For me, it seems more valuable to me to be able to freestyle rap than it does to be able to remember that I went to the car to get cigarettes, not that thing I saw in the car that I then grabbed instead and walked back inside and go, why did I get this? What am I doing in here with this thing? What did I go out there to get? Oh, my fucking cigarettes. God damn it. The reason is because my brain is busy doing long-range shit while I'm walking into the car. It's going, okay, forget about the car stuff. Think about this weird connection of things. Aunt Judy and that tortoises exhibit we saw at the museum the other day. Aunt Judy kind of has similarities to tortoise in some ways. In my head, you know, I'm not thinking about remember to get the cigarettes. Remember to get the cigarettes. So that doesn't make me broken. It makes me different. I reject this notion that there's a disorder, while at the same time acknowledging that given the failings of the status quo to be correct in its configuration as a universe, that in order to better achieve in the conventional setup, people who are designated ADHD should take speed. And that ends my speech. I open the floor.
That was pretty interesting. I never, I have friends that are diagnosed with ADHD, but I've always been I haven't done as much research into it, but I've always kind of been on the end where it's I didn't really think it was a disorder either. I had always figured it was, I remember after I saw some of Dario Nardi's, EEG scans where you saw the any brains was multiple regions of the brain firing off at different speeds and times, and like I don't know. To me, I had always thought it. I kind of leaned towards that brain configuration idea, but I'd
Cool.
never heard any of the science for it.
Yeah, I'd never heard anything about it either. Same thing. I was in exactly the same situation you were just describing until last night, when I finally decided to
Yeah.
actually do a little research. I was like, fuck it. It's not that hard to enter brain shit into Google. Except it turned out to be amazingly difficult, actually. That's the funny thing about it, is when I went to go do that research, my internet thing popped up, said, contact AT&T immediately. Because, of course, I hadn't paid them. But so I did. They still let me use the internet to go to their website to pay them. So I was able to do that, but it took a while. I had to call their call center. So I disproved his thing about persistence. I really wanted to research this shit right then. I didn't want to do something else, and so I dealt with it.
It's kind of like, I mean, I guess though how you look at it, one person could call it a disorder on either side of the spectrum. You could be on the tall, the disparate node, like. I guess I'll just call it NE. I'll just say
Right.
that it's probably not exactly NE, but I'm just saying. And you were to look at the other spectrum, maybe like all the tiny little micro connections, or what you were talking about, where walking to your car and remember thing. If someone that's so used to spending a lot of time in those little systems, the lower, like, they're going to be less adept at the disparate connections but it's probably just you need kind of a balance.
Right.
I mean, I would
You
imagine.
got to have both kinds of people, right? You got to have
Yeah.
both kinds of people in the world. And in fact, and this is one thing that's kind of trippy or understandable, naturally would necessarily be so, I'm not sure which it is that the percentages of people with personality types, which, basically, as far as I'm concerned, ADHD means ENTP, ENFP, and maybe some INTPs. But, fucking flies. Die, bitch. Oh yeah, ESTPs too. But look, the thing is that those people are, like, ENTPs are a small percentage of the population. INTPs are a small percentage of the population. It doesn't seem like that on YouTube personality shit, because they comprise, I think, the most interested personality type people, because they're all procrastinating. They all should be doing school stuff or whatever, or work stuff, but instead they're trying to research why they don't want to do anything. So they're all over the place, right? Everybody else is out doing shit. INTPs are like, I really got to find out more about why I'm not doing anything before I do something.
Yeah.
I should watch another
Yeah.
40 hours of these videos and learn more.
It's just what you're interested in. I mean, like, we're the people that are sitting in, like, Greek common areas discussing concepts, and
Yeah.
there's still people out there building all the buildings that we discuss those concepts in, and we're like, thank you for doing all
Yeah.
that shit. We just want to talk about stuff again.
The
now.
thing is, I think the thing is this: ENTPs and INTPs both are slow developing, and we develop late, and we have to use a certain amount of active metacognition to develop and deal with the weird skew of our configurations. And so when INTPs and ENTPs get their shit together eventually and they get it all figured out, because I think INTPs, there's probably a certain moment where you finish your TI shit and you go, okay, there, now I'm ready. I'm ready to start. What are we doing here? What are we doing? I've been doing pre-work.
No,
But then ENTP, what they do is they just stop being, they get less, they shake free the things that get in their way. Like, what got in my way a lot was the shame of unfinished stuff. I had so internalized my parents' German work ethic about everything that I was scared to even start a project because I was ashamed of my own inability to finish projects. So that was a problem, and music helped with that because I was able to learn to play a 2-minute long song, and then I'd be able to play that, no problem. The learning to play it part was either I could freestyle, like, or I could learn somebody else's song, like a cover. I have some fake books and shit. I used to play a lot of covers when I was back working in special ed, and you could just basically sit there and play guitar all day if you want.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, but that's the challenge, I think, is understanding, is getting past that. We're handicapped by our ability to project out and see how big a task is going to be after we started it about 10% of the way in. And we can look up and we go, oh, fuck, is that what I'm doing? I don't want to do this anymore. This is boring.
Yeah. Where the NIs kind of have the opposite problem, where they like immediately jump into this big task and underestimate the tiny work, or like we see NI, like we see the whole path, like all the way through it, and we're like, holy shit. And we see all the details beforehand, and we're like, fuck, that's going to be a lot. Whereas in like NIs jump in it almost. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. And
I think you're right, though.
And then they're kind of like, no,
this is what they do. They feel it. They feel it. Okay, they know, they can tell. They feel the goal. Feel the goal out there. I feel that goal. It's right there. I can feel it. Are we getting warmer or colder? Feeling's a little stronger. Getting closer to it. And they're probably, if they're like an IFJ, they're probably right. But they don't care about the details of getting there, because they're only going to do those details of getting there actually in general that they want to do. They're going to be delegating shit and or finding ways to narrow the scope of what they're working on. I've noticed this, I think is true about INFJs, that they're very specific about what they want to do and what they don't want to do, like as far as work goes.
Yeah.
They're
I
not
will say,
necessarily
though, on the other hand, with NTPs, I can specifically speak for myself. Something, okay, like, yes, I do take longer to commit to doing something, but it's actually a good thing, because I place everything through such a rigid value system. Like, okay, why do things if it's not what's really good for me, or is what I'm doing worth my time? Like, because so many people just work through life, and a lot of people end up unhappy. They wake up at like 40 in a dead-end job, and they're like, fuck, how'd I get here? Because they didn't see the path, where the path was going to end up, or like they didn't like take enough time to evaluate it before you just started walking down it. And I think it's a balance. It's a balance.
It's the most important question what you're talking about there. We're saying, what when you have a kid, when somebody has a kid, almost nobody, certainly I wasn't ready to ask these sort of questions when I had my first kid. Anyway, maybe I'll have another one at some point if I can find a fertile child bearer. Anyway, fertile child bearer wanted. I'll put that up. Wanted for general service.
Good luck.
Must additionally cook and clean. So, no, I wouldn't. I don't need that. I don't need somebody to cook and clean. I need somebody to just do this, sort of organize another person to do that. That'd be fine. I could live with that. Okay, so anyway, regardless of fertile child bearers, my first child, I wasn't asking these questions, but the question I should have been asking is, how can I help my child spend as much of their time over the course of their whole life doing stuff they want to do, making sure not to over prioritize that too much in childhood, so that they don't gain any of the valuable lessons of that are taken from having to push hard to do things, having to
Yeah.
coming up against resistance, having to sit still sometimes, having to sit sometimes in a class. I think there's a little bit of that stuff we do need to do. Like say, okay, now in this little chunk of time, we're going to work on learning to prioritize group interests and self police. But I think that's really what we're teaching more than anything else in school is we're teaching people to be okay with following orders. We're teaching them. I don't think we're doing it intentionally, but we're teaching them it's okay that you need to follow orders. Number two, that someone out there knows. There's an authority out there who knows the definite right answer to this. That's a big lie that is deeply entrenched in everybody, I think, including me. I used to be anyway. I think I've more or less gotten rid of it, but nobody knows any better than you do, is the bottom line. And people position things in such certain ways, such as Russell Blakely. 99.999% of people who watch that video and watching that video feeling as though now they know scientific facts about what really things are, and they have a clear. Now they know. Before they didn't know, but now they do. No, boy, they have now. They've heard that set of arguments. That's all. Same as everybody else. It's just some guy. Everybody's just some guy. People, I wish we could teach children that. Remember, children, everybody's just some guy.
Yeah, I think exactly what you just said is what I've dealt with since I was seriously a little kid, since I can remember, is literally not listening. I listened and respected when people told me things, but I ran every piece of information that I took in through my own system. Like whether it was okay, what is the point of life? What are my goals in life? Everyone was like, it's just you're just barraged with information and what life is and how you're supposed to act and what you're supposed to do in life and the path and everything. It's just like.
Well, and I think INTPs are have a uniquely strong resistance to those things as well. For most types, they have much less resistance, including ENTPs have much less resistance. ENTPs are mostly FE whores until about 25. I mean, I'm still an FE whore at 45, but I'm much more. Now I moved up to FE. What's that called? I moved up to an FE escort. I'm no longer an FE prostitute. I'm an FE escort now. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Moving on.
Anything else? Anybody? I haven't included anybody else's voices in this. I'm sorry if you wanted to speak. I just would have gotten lost in the time flow of the present, as they say. Any other comments? Charangelo, I really enjoyed speaking with you for a little bit of time that I did speak with you. Well, maybe I'll have another opportunity to speak with you again sometime when I don't have to run off to the pot store. Just FYI, of everyone's eye, I got Yoda's brain.
Nice.
This is a.
You have a medicinal prescription or whatever?
Yeah, I got a prescription. This is this fucking thing is in the way. This is a indica, and I'll show you the other one's a hybrid. This is indica.
Yoda's brain.
That camera doesn't do up close very well. And then this one is a hybrid. This one's called Hammer Haze. Hammer Haze. Hammer Haze. I like the Viking war names on marijuana. Like it's a weapon in Dungeons and Dragons.
Lawrence asked a good question. You prefer indica, sativa, or hybrid?
I like hybrids best, I think.
Me too.
I would have said indicas even a month ago, but I realized actually I always seem to be buying the hybrids, Eric. Maybe you actually like hybrids better. So, yeah. You like hybrids better too, huh?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite strain?
No, not a favorite strain. Honestly, I had some back in college that I can't even remember the strain, what the name was, but I mean they were probably some of the best weed I've ever had. But I don't know.
Have you had Gorilla
There's
Glue?
one. Yeah, no, I think I have had that. There's one I've had. Have you ever had Blue Diesel? I think it's called Blue Diesel.
Is it a cross between Sour Diesel and Blue Dream? Probably it
I
is.
think so. Yes.
I haven't
That's
had it, but I've had both the sources.
yeah. Okay. I think I remember that one being a good one, Blue Diesel, and I think it was the mix of what you just said.
Yeah, here's the thing. I find that Blue Dream, I'm not that fond of it. The Sour Diesel is pretty good, but Blue Dream, I don't like it that much. But Gorilla Glue number 4, which they had for a while, which was the Cannabis Cup winner, that shit's awesome because it doesn't even, it's like, it's unique among all marijuana I've ever gotten in its weird consistency. It's kind of stringy. It's not like super dense, but it's super gooey, and it's called, I guess it's called Gorilla Glue, I'm assuming, because it's really hard to pull through a drop bowl. Like it gets stuck even when you torch it. So, and it just has a weird, slightly different high than most weeds, I think. So whatever they did, whatever they crossed to make that shit, they did a good job.
Yeah, I have to look that. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, check it out. All right, guys. Well, that ends this video, and that ends this afternoon's GoToMeeting session. Thank you all for being here, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.